Hey Marcus, my man, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Elisha. How are you?
Doing quite fine, my man. Thank you so very much for being here. Like I mentioned earlier, I truly appreciate it. And you see, Marcus, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become an anthem for me. So firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Marcus, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Marcus, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Marcus, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, my man. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. So it was such a lovely moment that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Marcus that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, how you are offering your solution, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having. These stuff are amazing. And just before I sent you the request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Marcus is doing, not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Marcus. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thank you so much, my man. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you. Those were very wonderful words and a very nice parable.
Beautiful. Thank you too, my man. Thank you. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Marcus, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Marcus on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Marcus, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, my man, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Marcus got here. And afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Marcus, my man, over to you.
Sure. I'll be happy to give a brief, admittedly brief introduction on who I am, how I've got started, and just kind of where I am today. So, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, I've always been someone that has enjoyed big city and big city life, and but have really traveled the world. And with that, I've been able to accumulate a tremendous amount of knowledge, as you have said. But more importantly, I feel like I've had the ability to generate two things that I feel like may be a little bit more valuable than knowledge, if I can say, and that's perspective and wisdom. Because as you said, there's no shortage of information that's out here, but how to apply that information in a way that is impactful, intangible, and practical is usually the hardest thing that we can do, especially with like AI now that can pump out as much knowledge or as information as you want. How you apply that knowledge, I think, is something that's going to be very important going for everyone in the future. And so for me in the work that I do as a hedge fund manager. So essentially think of that as a elevated version of a stock trader or a stockbroker where I invest for myself and others. It is imperative and paramount that I'm always accessing the correct knowledge and being able to apply that knowledge in a very high stakes environment in which, the decisions that I make are either going to be helpful in terms of it's going to be able to generate returns for myself and others, or it's not going to be helpful in that I'm losing money essentially. And the cool thing about that experience is it gives me an opportunity to get instant feedback, like real time feedback. It isn't something that takes 6 months for me to know or a year for me to know. I mean, sometimes within minutes or hours, I know the correct answer to the hypothesis or the question or the application of knowledge that I have. So it's been a really good teacher, not just in understanding what's happening in the world, because once you have an understanding of the markets, you truly do get a kind of snapshot or a microcosm of what's happening across the entire world. But more importantly, I feel like it's been a very good mirror for myself in terms of when you are in the investment space, what you are always going to see is what you are reflecting back to the world in terms of who you are. So are you someone that's disciplined? Are you someone that can apply knowledge? Are you someone that when you see things are going wrong, that you can make a snap decision to be able to cut a bad investment short as opposed to holding on to an investment longer than you need to because your ego is in the way and wants to prove that it's right. These things are detrimental in a lot of instances to your long-term success. And so being able to have that job as a hedge fund manager has given me a great opportunity to see within myself what's working and what's not working. Believe me, it's a drag to be able to have to face yourself in such a real way every single day. Most people never actually have to confront themselves unless it's times of real emergency. But it's something that keeps me honest and keeps me true. So I really appreciate it. In addition to that, what I would say my passion project is that we work in the United States here with high school students as well as their parents on financial literacy, personal finance, as well as how to trade. And so I have the ability to, on a daily basis, work with other people that may not have the same knowledge or wisdom or perspective as I do to begin to teach or to share my perspective with them in a way that really resonates. And so I know you've heard the old adage of those that can't do, teach. Well, I actually do on a daily basis, and I teach. And so what that does is that every day presents me with an opportunity to test how well I truly do know my stuff, because I am with a very curious, intelligent group of people that are looking for the correct answers. And again, when we're talking about things like your budgeting, investing in the stock market, it's easy to know when you're wrong. And so I put myself in a position in life where I truly do have a great opportunity to help people in the work that I do, but more importantly, to be able to continue to have opportunities to be honest with myself and to help myself grow on a daily basis. So I think it's a pretty cool living to have.
I tell you, it's pretty cool. I tell you. And it's amazing. I love how you explained it, and that's a beautiful one. So I feel like this is a very important question. All right. So, how can families learn about money together?
Yeah, that's that's a pretty that's a pretty important question, and it's one that I'm glad that you asked because there's just so much that goes into money and perspectives on money. And so, what I mean by that is a lot of reasons why parents are looking for whether it's solutions like mine or it's schools or however they find the information to be able to help their students or their children with personal finances, because in a lot of instances they haven't truly learned it themselves, or they're applying the things that they learn and they're finding that it's not really working as well for them. And so they're not trying to pass on that same sort of fragmented or incorrect knowledge to their next generation or to their children. And so they are searching for the right solution. In so many instances in families, you find that most of the conversations around money, especially with children and the parents, is mom or dad, can I have money? And that's usually not the great facilitation for just having a powerful conversation in and around finances and money, because in a lot of instances, what do we find? We find that the parent ends up saying no, especially in this economy when things are a lot more expensive and we don't really have as much discretionary income as we used to. And so one of the greatest ways to honestly be able to do it, and again, it's a harder question than it sounds, honestly, is for one, the parent to at least come from the space of truth in their heart of understanding that they may not necessarily have the right answer, and that they can utilize outside sources in order to be able to help them to learn and grow. Uh, and then also being able to monitor the sort of information that their student is learning. Because we live in this world where Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all of these social media channels are the ones that are educating this next generation of kids about money. And they may not necessarily have a true idea in terms of what the wisdom is that comes with what I would say are the tactics that you find a lot of times in these 60-second videos. And so I don't have the right answer, honestly, in terms of how to do it. I can just speak from the perspective of what we do. So when we are working with families in terms of helping them to have healthy conversations around money, we both take the opportunity to educate the student on the right ways for them to understand money. Like, for example, what is money? What is currency? It's not just the folded bills that you get, because in most days money is digital, right? So it's not what we think of as cash, but money is truly a unit of exchange. You exchange this either digital currency or physical currency for something that you want in return. Now, you have to also take that a step deeper, which is, okay, well, now what are you deciding that you're going to trade for that same currency? And in most instances, people trade their time for money, right? Which, as we know, you never get that back. Like, time is the only finite resource that we have. And so for you to trade that for money usually starts you off on the wrong foot in the first place. So being able to help them to understand that perspective of there are ways for you to make money independent of the time that you're spending. So just giving students a foundational understanding of money that they may have never heard before because it's never been taught to them before. And then on the other side, what we do is we empower the parents with not only knowledge, but ways in which they can prompt their student to have more intelligent conversations around money. So we, on a weekly basis, send to parents things like conversations that you can have with students around the dinner table, so that it's not just, what did you learn in school today? But these are questions directly related to the things that they are learning inside the classroom that are a bit deeper. So things like, how is inflation affecting what's going on with our family right now? That's probably one of the most revealing conversations that you're going to have, because eggs are like $15. You know what I mean? And like, most kids don't have a true appreciation or understanding of just how much more expensive things are being. Or I don't know if you've been to a restaurant lately, but trying to feed a family of four at a restaurant is pretty much a mortgage payment at this point. You know what I mean? And so kids are not understanding why the parents are deciding that they want to do less. They just think that the parents don't want to do for them, which isn't necessarily true. So it gives them both perspective in terms of what's actually happening in the real world, so that they can come from a place of mutual understanding. The way that I've been able to accomplish so much in my life and accomplish so much with families is to do this one very important thing, is to put both of the members of the family on the same side of the dinner table and not across from each other. When you're across from each other, naturally you're having an adversarial conversation where one person has to be right, and in order for the other person to be right, there's some version of the other person has to be wrong. But if both of the members of the family are on the same side of the table, approaching the problem together, then it's a collaborative exercise that they can do together. So how do we get people on the same side of the table attacking the problem, as opposed to attacking each other while the problem sits in the middle?
Mic drop, man. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh boy. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, okay. I think this is very interesting. Man, thank you. Thank you for explaining it that way. I got that. I got that. So we still have some questions here. So why does mindset matter in trading? Got it?
In my personal opinion, mindset is everything in trading, because it's the thing that makes you you. So I'll give you an example, and I'll give you a story to kind of belabor the point. I will tell my own personal story of my trading journey, but then I'll explain it in the larger context. So when I was just learning trading, this was, just about a decade or so ago now, I did the same thing that most people do, which I went with a trade leader, which is somebody who was online, who had thousands of traders, and he was showing people the exact path, the exact method. He was even allowing you to see his screen so that you can see the exact trades that he was taking. So as much hand holding as you could have for a beginner trader, it was the best, because you get to see everything. You got to see behind the curtain. Most trade leaders, they don't show you their actual executions or their actual trades. But even with that, right, where everyone's seeing the same thing, there were some people in that course that were making a bunch of money, and then there were some people that were losing money. And how is that possible when we're looking at the same exact information and we're supposed to be making the same exact executions? Because it's not about what you see, but it's about the mindset behind what you do that's going to influence those executions. And so when you look at it in reality, your mindset is so important because, especially when we're talking about trading, it's about what you even believe is possible for yourself. Do you believe that you even deserve this amount of money that you're trying to get? Most people never talk about that. Do you understand that once you have that money, that you can keep it? The hardest part is not making money in trading; it's keeping it. Talk to any successful trade leader, any successful trader, and they're going to tell you that you can make money in the markets all day long, but it's what you do when things go wrong that are going to make the difference in whether or not you're going to be successful in this game in the long term. 90% of traders lose 90% of their money in the first 90 days. That's a fact. So if you don't have the right mindset in place to help you to be able to handle yourself when things are going poorly, then you're never going to be able to be in this game for the long term. The second part to this, and this is probably the most important piece, is that if you don't have your mindset correct, meaning you don't understand how you as an individual person deals with money, deals with diversity, deals with trading, deals with adversity, then you're always going to be a slave to the patterns of your other than conscious mind. Meaning that when you get into this emotional cycle that you go through, if you're not present that it's even existing, you're just going to go to the whims of your emotions and do the same thing over and over and over again. I work with traders every single day in my coaching program where that's what we work through, the emotional side of trading, the mental side of it, where you start to get into these patterns and how you can fix it. And if you don't fix those, it's never going to change. And I can tell you this last point, then I'll stop. Before I started my coaching company, when I was getting prepared for my hedge fund and understand and different things like that, I had interviewed at least $100 million traders. So these are people that have verified they have made $1 million or more in a year as a trader. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that none of them followed anyone else, meaning they didn't go online and find somebody else who they can learn from. They trusted themselves. And in order for you to really be successful in this game, you have to trust yourself, which means you have to understand yourself. And so that's what I teach.
Amazing. I got that. You have to trust yourself. I got that. So finally, what money mistakes do you think young people often makes? You got it?
What money mistakes do young students often make?
Yeah, yeah, young people often make.
Yeah, again, I'll try to keep this because I know we're almost at time. So just a few minutes or less. I think most of the mistakes, honestly, in a lot of instances, stem from a lack of true understanding or wisdom in relation to money and how to keep it. Because if you never taught something, how are you going to do it at a high level? If you look at any professional athlete, they've missed more shots than I've ever taken in my lifetime. That's why they're professional. As a trader, I've lost more trades than most non professional traders have ever taken in their lives. That's how I've been able to get so good as a professional. So a lot of times a young student just doesn't have enough reps in the game to truly understand the nuances of life to know that when you get money, you're supposed to be able to keep it. And a lot of times that comes from a lack of education and a lack of understanding. So I don't completely put that on students or young people because they just simply don't have the knowledge. We go through that 4 levels of understanding first, right? The unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. And so that's where a lot of students are at this phase. They don't know what they don't know. They just see success on Instagram or they see success on social media and they think that's what life is. But they don't understand that that is just the presented version that is being put to you, which in a lot of instances isn't the truth. So if you try to replicate that without the true foundational understanding of it, you're just destined to repeat mistakes. So a lot of times then you get to that point where now you have conscious incompetence. You know what you don't know, which is a great place to be because that's where the fire comes for you to decide that you want to learn this stuff. And there's usually a long grind between then to get into where you want to have, which is conscious competence, means you know what you know and you're doing it correctly. That's where most adults get. We are consciously competent of the fact that we just don't have enough money. Like, let's just be honest with you. You know what I mean? That like, we know that there's stuff that can be better. We know that we need to do it, but we have a true understanding of where we are and just the nature of the beast of the game that we're playing. But the ideal level that you want to get to is in that conscious competence phase, you learn the correct things, the correct patterns, the correct mindset, the beliefs, and the heart that you're supposed to have to be successful with it, so that then that becomes a pattern where now you're unconsciously competent of what you're doing, meaning you don't even remember that you're doing the right thing, but the pattern itself occurs now where you are just doing the right thing consistently. And that's where we want to be able to have students go or have young people be able to be. It just requires time. and it requires the correct amount of knowledge, which a lot of times you won't have if you're 15 or 16 years old. That's why, solutions like ours exist. We want to teach you the right way in the beginning so that in the future, you can start to make the right decisions from a place of heart and from a place of instinct and not necessarily using your mind.
A place of heart. I got that. So to bring this to an end, Marcus, for those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've talked about, or join your programs, make use of the solutions, how can that be possible?
Sure, you can definitely check out our website, which is Tradecology. So think of psychology, but for trading, jr.com. So that would be tradecologyjr.com.
Got it. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing these profound words with us. Oh boy, it means a whole lot. Thank you, my man.
My pleasure. I appreciate you having me.